Hello everyone out there. Welcome to another very interesting and very informative video. In this video, I will share my views about a very important and very interesting topic, and that is how to learn and how to study effectively. I will share some useful tips with you as well. So how to become effective learner or how to study effectively. I'm pretty sure that this video will help students of any grades, college or university level, whether you are doing your bachelor or master or even PhD, or if you are a scholar, a researcher, then this video is for you. Here is the roadmap for today's journey, today's presentation. To better understand how to learn effectively, it is necessary to know how our brain actually works. So we will start by studying two different modes of thinking, and the one mode of thinking is called the focused, while the second is called diffused mode of thinking. Then in the second part of this presentation, I will give some examples of techniques used by some famous people, and with those examples you would be able to learn how effectively they use these techniques to learn anything effectively or to manage the two modes of thinking. And at the end of this presentation, I will provide some very useful and effective learning skills and techniques and tips. And with that, we will reach to the destination of our today journey. So first, let us understand how our brain actually works. There are two different modes of thinking. They are called the focused mode of thinking and the diffused mode of thinking. So the focused mode of thinking is actually very famous one. We are all familiar with this mode. When you are focusing, when you are concentrating on something that you are trying to learn, that you are trying to understand, then you are in the focused mode. You know that our thoughts actually they move smoothly along a nicely paved road while we are in the focus mode. On the other hand, the diffuse mode of thinking, that is not famous because not too much people are familiar with this mode. Let me give you a simple thought about the diffuse mode. It is actually the more relaxed style of thinking. And for example, if you are doing your exercise, if you are doing jogging, or even if you are walking or running, or even if you are talking, if you are taking a bath, for example, in the washroom. So this is a good way to come up with new thoughts by using the diffuse mode of thinking, or to come up with new brilliant ideas or solutions to the problem that you are currently working on. My personal experience, let me share with you, is that most of the time I personally find solutions to many of the problems that currently I'm working on while doing my exercise in the diffuse mode or by using the diffuse mode. For example, I am studying on a problem and then I need some relaxation, so I go out for a walk or for running or for doing some exercise, and then I start using my diffuse mode to solve or to find solution for those problems. And it works. It is very obvious that you will find solution to some hard problems which are not obviously possible while you are working on the focus mode, because in the focus mode we actually concentrate on something, while in the diffuse mode we actually think more broadly, more conceptually, more strategically. So I personally find solutions to many problems. However, the only problem is that how to remember all those ideas that come into your mind while you are doing exercise. So you can take them, you can take notes while you are doing exercise. You can use your mobile phone or a piece of paper to note them out. So it is believed, the researchers had concluded that you cannot be at both the thinking modes at the same time. It is like a coin. You toss the coin, so you can see either one side of the coin or the other side. So actually you can be in the focus mode or in the diffuse mode at a time, not the both modes. So our brain works, either your brain is in the focus mode or in the diffuse mode. So you can actually take advantage of the diffuse mode as well. Here are some examples of some famous persons and how they use different technique to effectively learn something, a new idea, a new concept or anything. Salvador Dali, he was a great Spanish artist, a painter, who was also famous for his technical skills. Actually, he used a technique to come up with brilliant ideas for his painting. His favorite technique was that he would put a tin plate on the floor, on the surface of the floor, and then sit by a chair beside it, holding a spoon over the plate, right? He would then totally relax his body in the chair. Sometimes he would begin to fall asleep. It is normal while you sat for studying something, and then suddenly the sleeps arrived. So suddenly when he fall asleep, the moment that he began to sleep, the spoon would actually slip from his finger and then clang on the plate, immediately waking him up. And then this way he would able to capture all the images from his mind in the diffused mode. This way he can collect the diffuse mode ideas and then bake them into the focus mode. Well, some of you might be wondering how this technique works. So think about your challenge, consider your progress, your obstacles, your alternatives, and so on. Then push it away and relax, sit back in a chair. Totally relax your body, sit on a chair, hold a spoon loosely in your one hand over a plate. Then try to achieve the deepest muscle relaxation you can give to your body. You can quiet your mind for a while. Do not think of what went on during the day or your challenge and the problems that you are trying to solve. You can actually clean your mind this way. Close your eyes, and then you cannot look for those images that appears in your mind. Be passive, and then should you begin to fall asleep, you will drop the spoon and awaken in time to capture those images that appear in your mind while you are in the diffuse mode. So you can actually record your experiences immediately after they occur. Another example is that of a famous inventor, that is the Edison. He actually holds a ball bearing in his hand, just like the Spanish painter Dali. So actually he holds a ball bearing in his hand. When Edison would fall into sleep, the ball will fall onto the floor and clatter. It will produce a sound. I remember one of my professor told me a story of Edison, that there was a legend actually who asked Thomas Edison why he kept trying to make a light after more than 1000 failures. And then he replied, I haven't failed. I have learned 1000 different ways of how to not make a light bulb. So success is not only that you achieve your goals. The failures that you make while towards achieving your goal is also a success. So when you are learning something new, a bit difficult, your minds need to be able to go back and forth between the two learning modes. That is the focus mode and the diffuse mode. And these are some of the techniques that we can actually use to bring our ideas from the diffuse mode to the focus mode. Now moving towards some tips that actually helps you to learn more effectively. The first thing is that you need to control procrastination. Everybody has an issue with procrastination. The simple philosophy is that if you are working on something It means that you are not working on many other things, and there is a procrastination. So it is actually the procrastination is actually a bad habit. It influence many different areas, actually important areas of our life. For example, if you control it, many positive, if you control your procrastination, it will bring many positive changes, and it will gradually begin. Not is like that you will start controlling your procrastination and it will happen overnight or over a day. No, it is actually a gradually process. You can actually control your procrastination over time. And how it works, for example, you are searching a web for information instead of reading a textbook. So it means you are actually procrastinating. Or you are solving a problem. Instead of solving a problem, you are searching or surfing the web, or you are playing with your mobile, you are texting someone. So there is procrastination. During procrastination, first you observe and get a clue about something that causes a teeny bit of unease. You don't like it. For example, you open your textbook and then you don't like to go through it. You open your homework and then you don't like to do your homework. So you feel unhappy when you open your books and when you sit to read a paper, or when you are working on a problem, academic problem, or when you are doing a homework. And then you turn to something more pleasant. For example, you start surfing the net, you start watching videos on the YouTube, or you start texting your friends on WhatsApp. You go to canteen to have a cup of tea or coffee with your friends. You play online games. So all these are types of procrastinations. These are actually the zombies. They are trying to kill your time, and they will affect your learning process. So the result is that actually when you turn from reading to watching a video or playing a game, it will give you a pleasure, a happy moment, but all these things are temporary, right? You feel happy but for a short period of time. The happiness is temporary. We procrastinate about things that make us a little bit uncomfortable or boring. For example, you are reading a book, so there is a boring. You think about something you don't particularly like to do, so you shift and narrow your focus of attention to something more enjoyable, like watching a video or playing a game. So that is more enjoyable as compared to reading a book, right? But the long-term effect of this habitual procrastination, they are actually going to be nasty. If you stop studying, with time it will become more painful to think about studying. But you are not alone. You can see the map on the screen. This is actually the procrastination, a whole nation, and the population is almost equal to the population of the world, right? So everybody deal with procrastination. We only need to control it, and that will happen with the passage of time. So for effective learning, it is important to control your procrastination and focus on more important things. So the question is how we can control the procrastination. So there is a simple tool and a handy tool. This is called Pomodoro. Pomodoro is an Italian word for tomato. The shape is like a tomato, so that is why it is called Pomodoro. It is actually a timer. You use it, and it is very effective for effective learning. All you need to do is to set the timer to 25 minutes. 25 minutes is not necessary. You can make it for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes at the beginning, and then you can take it to 1 hour, for example, 60 minutes. However, while this time, for example, 25 minutes, you have to turn off all the interruptions. For example, your Facebook account, your Twitter account, even watching your emails, your WhatsApp messages, playing games, watching YouTube video, surfing on the internet. All these things must need to be shut down while you are focusing on something very interesting. So it is better to switch off your smartphone and then focus on what you are trying to learn. So this intensive 25 minutes or 1 hour workout will be followed by some mental relaxation. Start reading for 25 minutes, then stop after 25 minutes and give your mind a little relaxation. To be more effective in learning, you would need to give yourself a little reward as well when you are done with the 25 minutes. For example, the reward could be a cup of coffee, going through your emails, watching a short video, texting someone over the WhatsApp, and so on. Or even you can wash your dishes in the kitchen to give your mind a bit relaxation. You can manage your stuff, you can organize your stuff, you can clean your table even in this relaxation time, right? So that is a simple tip. You can actually use the Pomodoro to deal with the procrastination. Another useful tip is consistency. For effective learning and for effective study, you need to do a little work every day. This will gradually allow you to grow. Success does not mean being smart. Many smart people are actually not successful. Passionate and persistency of really staying on working, it is something that will lead to effective learning and effective study, and it is one of the most important quality. For example, let me give you a very simple example. If you want to climb to reach to the top of the hill, then only watching to the top of the hill will actually not lead you to the top of the hill. What will make you reach there is that you start walking and then take your small steps, and with the passage of time you will reach to the top of the hill. Similarly, if you want, for example, to grow your muscles and build your body, then it will not happen in one day. You join a gym and then on the next day your muscles grow. No, that is not possible. So you have to work on it. You have to go to the gym regularly, and then gradually you will see that your muscles are actually building. Similarly, if you want to lose your weight, you have to exercise on a regular basis. So same is the case for effective learning. If you want to learn effectively, you have to put a little efforts every day in order to be successful. Similarly, learning is by doing, and there is a very famous saying which is in front of you. So understanding is by doing, is by practice. The only thing that you remember is the thing that you actually practice yourself. People learn to do well only when they practice doing. If you listen a song, it doesn't mean that you can sing in the same way that you listen. If you saw a painting and then you decide, oh, I can just draw a painting like this just by watching. No, you have to learn the things, and for learning you have to practice. You have to do the things that you want to learn. The first time when you understand something new is actually when you do it yourself. That is the key to effective learning. But a common mistake, some students actually, they do not attend classes. Some do not even read the materials, the lecture slides. When they have a homework to do or a problem to work on, then they start working on the homework or on the problem without going through the material, through the text that the teacher provided. The worst case is that some student will appear for the examination without taking classes or without studying the material. The situation is like jumping into the water before they learn to swim. I remember once a professor told a PhD student during his proposal defense, hey, you are going to play polo on the top of the hill while you do not know how to play it on the plain ground, right? So first you need to go through the material, and then you have to practice the material. So do not make this common mistake. You have to go through the text that your teacher provide to you, and then all the materials that your teacher provide to you, and then you have to practice them. And something related with this is the deliberate practice. Instead of mastering the easy stuff, you have to balance your studies by deliberately focusing on what you find more difficult. The focusing on the most difficult material is called a deliberate practice, and this is important for effective learning. It is the thing which makes the difference between a good student and a smart or a great student. An example, for example, you actually repeating the same thing you already know and you get happy. Hey, I know the material. For example, you learn a definition and then you recite it again and again, and you are not working on a numerical problem. So you are not actually deliberating, you are actually not doing the deliberate practice. You have to practice on the problems that are on the exercise as well in order to be an effective learner. So it is the thing which make you a greater student and an effective learning. It will also prevent if you are not actually solving the real problem, so it will prevent a better idea or solution to be found. So you have to keep a balance between the easy stuff and the hard stuff. You have to work on both. First, the easy stuff, there are two theories. Some people believe that you have to work on the simple and then on the harder stuff, and some believe that no, first you have to work on the hard problems and then move to the easier stuff. That is up to you. One of the most effective technique which normally students do not like is that you have to recall the concept from your memory. One traditional approach is simply to passively reread the material. Students actually follow this approach. They read the material the professor provided in the homes. They just stick to the lecture notes. They do not surf the topics on the net. They do not read for additional material in the textbook, or they do not read the research paper. They only rely on the material that the professor provided. So there is a traditional approach and there is a bad approach. You have to recall from your memory the concept that you have learned. However, the traditional approach is less productive, while recalling from the memory is more productive and more effective way of learning. Simply look away and see what you can recall from the lecture that you listen in the class. You can restudy and then recall again. This retrieval process also enhances the deep learning technique of the people. Let me give you a very simple exercise. After completely watching this video, try to recall the concepts that you have learned from this video, and you will actually practicing the recalling from the memory. Another effective technique for effective learning and studying is planning. Everything in this universe has a discipline. They have some policies, they have some plans, and they follow them. They follow it automatically. God created this universe with a plan in mind. So for effective learning and for effective study, we need to write a daily, a weekly, monthly, and annual plan for the studies. For daily routines, you can actually write the list of things that you need to do, for example, tomorrow before you go to sleep tonight. So planning is very much important, but we are very good at planning, but we are not actually good at implementing the things. So you have to plan and then you have to act on what you plan for the day. So they are important. Reading and writing on daily basis, it is also important. Well, our problem is that we actually read a book like a novel. So you have to read a textbook like a textbook. You need to underline things in a useless strategy for many researchers. How to read and how to write. You have to be careful about that. So reading and writing on daily basis is actually an important activity. But for that you have to read a book in a focus mode, not like a novel. For example, novel we study for pleasure, and then you have to understand the things, right? So you have to read and you have to write on daily basis, not only your textbooks but also extra information. Well, for effective learning and for effective study, it is important to use a metaphor or an analogy or examples. Metaphor means to realize that one thing is somehow similar to another thing. Vitally important, giving you understanding of the central idea of behind the concept you're trying to understand. One of the most important or the best thing you can do to remember something is to use a metaphor or analogy, but it must be realistic. You are not going to compare the oranges with the apples. They are two different things. Like, for example, potato have eyes, and then I have eyes too, so I'm like a potato. That is an analogy, but that is not like the true analogy. People will not like them. I remember when I was teaching a data structure course, I try to use some dancing videos for understanding the sorting algorithms, how the bubble sort work, how the radix sort work, how the insert sort algorithm works. So different algorithms, it's a bit complicated for the student. They mixed up these things because all the algorithms seems like they are the same thing, because they are actually solving the same problem. So in order to understand the concepts of algorithm in a better way, we could actually use some animations, some videos which actually resembles the sorting algorithm. So you can actually use metaphor and analogy for learning effectively. That is also a good approach. Also, the context is very important. I also advise my student, whenever you are trying to solve a problem, you have to provide a context, right? Providing a context means that you have to go beyond the initial problem and seeing it more broadly, seeing both the related and unrelated stuff to the problem at which you are working. How to get the big picture? One example: before starting to read a chapter, go through the chapter, just scan the heading of the chapter, the figures in the chapter, the tables present in the chapter, and the main things in the chapter. So in this way you actually understand the context. I always give this advice to my student, that whenever you want to read something, you have to go through 3 different steps. For example, in the first step, you just read the title of the chapter or the paper, and then the abstract, and then the headings, then the tables, and the things like this. So I think I would need to give a presentation on how to read effectively one day as well. So that is in the pipeline. Stay connected for to be an effective reader or effective writer as well. But however, for understanding the context, it is important that you have to go through the chapter headings, the chapter tables, figures, and the main points of the chapters. And another important thing which is actually more relevant while you are attending a lecture or a seminar or a workshop, you have to ask different questions. Even if the lecture is boring, sometimes you attend a lecture and that is boring. So the tip is that you can ask questions, because sometimes asking question would lead to discussion that would be more interesting than the lecture, than that of the material that the presenter is presenting. So actually it is a key to divert the attention of the presenter to more relevant or more interesting ideas. So if something is boring to you, you can ask questions, and then the discussion would be more fruitful and more interesting than the lecture itself. So you actually learn a lot more by actively engaging with the presenter by asking questions. And remember, no question is stupid. So go for stupid questions as well. Form a network. This is also an effective learning technique. I'm not talking about a network of your friends or family, or a network of your social networks like Facebook, like Twitter. No. A real network for discussions, for discussion of ideas, for working in a group. Maybe some people are more genius because they are isolated, or they prefer to work independently. But for others, talking to other creative people and other experienced people, that is an important and effective learning technique, because they will explain the things and they will actually boost up the learning process that you, for example, you are doing coding and then you spend one whole week to fix a bug in the code. But if you talk about the problem with an experienced programmer, then maybe he could solve the problem within minutes for you, right? So discussion is important, and for that you need to build a network. Okay, this is something philosophical. We have two things: process and product. It is perfectly normal to begin with a few negative feelings while you set to read something. When starting a learning session, for example, you need to handle those negative feelings. One useful way is to focus on the process, not on the product. Process is actually the flow of time and the habits and the actions that are associated with that flow of time. And product is actually the outcome, the target, the goal that you have set. For example, your homework is the product, your assignment is the product, the quiz given by your professor is actually the product. So you do not need to be worried about the product, just focus on the process, how to do the assignment. For doing an assignment, you have to search some material in the books, over the internet, by using the Google, etc. And then you have to compile the material, you have to rewrite the material in your own words, and then you have to format it, then you have to understand the concepts present in the assignment, and it's quite possible that you may be asked for presenting the topic. So all these are the processes, the steps of the processes. You have to focus on the process, and when you focus on the process, you will see that result, the product will appear itself, and you would be ready for the product. You can now sell your product to the, you can actually launch your product in the market. So actually, when you think about the product, it actually triggers the pain. Put your best effort for a short period of time, which is the process. To focus on process, you can use a Pomodoro, a technique that I talked at the beginning of this video. You can also use some noise cancelling headphones, or some you can actually study in silence places. Some people love to study with relaxing music. I don't know whether it works or not, because some people, they actually manage multitasking, but for other it is a complicated task. So I prefer to study in environment where there is silence, right? So that is up to you. What is your learning style? You have to discover it. I love the philosophy of thinking about process and product as a journey and a destination, and it actually works you to focus more on the process rather than the product. We normally focus on destination and miss the actual journey, the actual enjoyment toward the destination. Our destination, the final product, when you reach there, your success, there is like a hidden stone. When you reach there, it matters nothing. And then you miss the actual steps that you take to reach towards the destination. So there is something psychological philosophy of the actual product and the process. So concentrate, the summary is that you have to concentrate over the process, the steps that you take toward your destination, rather than thinking about the final product. And this is something which maybe you agree with me. Physical exercise is not only important for your physical health, but also for your mental health. I remember previously once the neurologist and other medical scientists, they believe that our neurons in our brain, they are actually present at the birth. But now they believe that new neurons are born every day in few parts of the brain. These new neurons will help you to learn new things, new concepts, learn effectively. And actually the exercise will help you to will help these new neurons to survive, right? So if you do not do some physical exercise, these neurons will become effectiveless. You will not be able to use them. So exercise is much more effective than any other drugs or medicines that are available in the market for effective learning. So when you exercise, you actually train your brain to focus more or work better in the focused and in the diffused mode. So you have to take some time for your physical exercise, and there are plenty of exercise available. You can walk, you can run, you can join a gym, you can swim, you can take your bicycle and take a ride, and so on. Plenty of options are available, so go for it. Physical exercise is important for effective learning. And then importance of sleep. We love to sleep, and there is a combination of sleep, exercise, and effective learning. If you do exercise, you will manage to sleep very well, and you will be able to improve your learning skills. You would be able to study more focusedly. You will be active all day. Give 1 hour to exercise, and I promise you will get the rest of 23 hours. You will be able to utilize those 23 hours in the most effective way you want. So sleep is an important part of the learning process. For effective learning, it is important to sleep well. We think most of the time that sleep is a wastage of time, the minimum sleep that we require, but is the way our brains keep itself neat and clean and healthy. When you sleep, your brain cells, they actually shrinks, and the space between the brain cells, they actually increase, so it will unblock the stream and wash the bad things from our mind. If you are taking your class without proper sleep, then what will happen? It's not effective way. Getting too little sleep will not only affect your learning process, but also it has some negative consequences as well. For example, if you do not sleep well, you will face some headache, depressions, and even heart diseases, as long as I know, diabetes as well. So better sleep will help improve your abilities to figure out the difficult things, difficult problems, and solve the different real stuff that you are actually working on. So sleep is an important part of effective learning process. Well, this is something which we face very much, and I will end my presentation on this slide. Illusion of competence. Let me explain it with the help of an example. Students love to collect notes, materials, lecture slides. Suppose you have notes, you have books, you have your friend Google, then you will learn the concepts, right? This supposition will provide the illusion that the material is in your brain. There are two things. You have plenty of books, plenty of material, you have the Google there, and then you think you can learn them effectively. You learn all the things. No, that is not true. That is only a supposition, because it is easier to look at the books instead of recalling. That is an illusion of competence. You have to keep the concepts not in the book, not in the material, not on the net. You have to keep the materials in your mind, not in the notes or in the books. One way to do so is to test yourself on whatever you are learning, right? Maybe you make mistakes when you are solving a problem, but mistakes, as I mentioned earlier, that is actually good thing, because you will try not to repeat the same mistake again. And that is the actual way of learning something. Learning is by doing, and when you are doing something, you will actually make mistakes, and those mistakes will actually make you more successful. So recalling materials when you are outside your working space is also a better technique to deal with the illusion of competence. In the diffuse mode, you can recall your materials, and then new things will appear in your mind that way. Similarly, the space that you have allocated for yourself while you are studying is also important, so that you can recall things in the best way. Okay, so illusion of competence. Do not believe that you have all the notes available, You have all the material available, you have all the stuff available on the internet, and then you one day when your exam is near, you will study them. No, that is an illusion. You have to put the material in your mind, and then you have to recall them while you are practicing or while you are giving your exam. So do not live in the illusion. You need to live in the reality, and the reality is that you have to learn the material and then practice the material, rather than believing that the things are there in the notes and then you will study them one day before the exam. So that is an illusion. With these words, I'm going to say goodbye to all of you. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you will learn something, and you will learn how to learn effectively and how to study effectively. Okay. Lastly, I would request all the viewers who are not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe for more informative and motivational videos. Thank you so much for your time. Goodbye.